A very good and happy morning, everyone. Welcome back to another daily market outlook. We're going to be analyzing the major dollar pairs and, of course, gold. Hope all of you had an amazing weekend after a fantastic last week where we were able to short EURUSD back in towards the overall yearly open. Now, what are we looking for this week? Well, there is still some more potential for downside on EURUSD, though I must say that the overall market structure that we're dealing with here is not that clean. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, we've obviously started to see the retracement after what has been a 4-hour BOS in towards the downside. We currently have the overall swing high situated here and the overall swing low situated here. So I'm still looking for one more short position back in towards the lows, and I'll be monitoring to see how the market reacts to the overall monthly open and, for example, towards this overall internal liquidity high or these highs over here to see one more potential push back in towards the downside towards the overall daily point of liquidity, which is situated underneath this low over here and which is situated underneath this low over here. Now, interesting enough, guys, again, this is why it's so important to note down those yearly opens and those monthly opens on your chart, because you can again see that the yearly open just acts as a level where price loves to interact with and has been bouncing back in towards the upside. So let's monitor what happens here on EURUSD. I must say that the overall market structure is not the cleanest. We're not getting very nice price action. We have a lot of descending highs here. Even this high here is not the strongest, as it didn't really take out anything too significant. Last week we saw with the overall momentum, but let's see now how the market reacts here on this Monday. We're going to give the market a little bit of time to kind of open, see where the market wants to be heading this week. We're obviously seeing a retracement here this Monday morning, and that could provide us with an opportunity to look for another short, but I'm not going to be diving into anything just yet. If we look at this, we can also see that we had an area of daily demand here, and that a lot of people have been going long from that area of daily demand with the stop loss underneath the low. However, these kind of positions are just not valid for myself due to the fact that liquidity was not taken within the overall push up. So what happens, the people who are then selling or buying, excuse me, on this area of demand, they then become the overall liquidity themselves, as you can see over here. So if your USD were to break this high, then retest, then could head up higher. But myself, I'm more favoring another downside push here on your USD in the near future. Going into the dollar index has done some nice stuff here where we have indeed seen an overall push in towards the highs, liquidating the initial kind of sell in towards the downside. So we're seeing kind of like a liquidation event. For myself, the only real sells on the dollar will come once that low breaks, retest, and then we could look for another sell opportunity in towards the downside. Other than that, we're still monitoring potential longs, with a connection now being made with this 4-hour area of demand. We still have the monthly open here as support, so we're still looking for one more push in towards the upside. Ideally, before a big drop, for example, you would want to be taking out major liquidity, which is situated here to the left. So that's what I'm pretty much waiting for on the dollar index. So still looking for some upside here in the short term. Let's see how the market reacts today. But we still have the monthly open as support. We still have liquidity open, and the yearly open has not yet been tapped here on the dollar index. So I'm favoring one more push further in towards the upside. And what could invalidate that would be a break of the low, retest, and then we could go short. But other than that, focus more on immediate upside. That means that GU still has lower prices to go, and that is correct pretty much from my overall perspective. I like the GU structure more than the EU structure, so the pound is still very weak based on fundamentals of last week. Obviously, last week we saw lower than expected inflation and also unemployment data come in weak for the pound. Ideally, we'll see another push in towards the downside towards one of these 2 points of daily liquidity. For now, the yearly open is providing us with some support and an overall retracement in towards the upside, but the overall order flow remains bearish, so we're looking for one more sell towards the overall points of liquidity. If we look at where we can then enter from a 4-hour perspective, I'll be monitoring the overall internal high, which is, for example, this high over here or this high over here. This high over here obviously aligns nicely with the monthly open, but this is also already a significant high from where we can look for a potential next downside move. If we look at the 4-hour market structure, we've had an overall impulse in towards the downside, another impulse, and we've had another impulse. So what we're now looking for is just the impulsive phases to continue, and the only situation in where you could be looking for a GBPUSD long is if we break the monthly open and that high, then we see the retracement, and then we could look for a long, forming support from the yearly open and then heading up higher. Now moving on into NZDUSD and AUDUSD, we considered AUDUSD is consolidating very heavily. Last week I was looking for somewhat of a deeper retracement back down towards this overall point of liquidity. That is still ideal if we do retrace down lower. But we did take out this low, did we? Or not? No. So ideally we would still see another push down lower. And I would not really be looking for AUD longs just yet. The Australian dollar remains strong, and that means that we can still look for those longs. And we did indeed see the 1 hour change of character or change in overall structure by breaking this high here, meaning this is now the low, this is now the high, this is internal liquidity, and this is internal liquidity. So longs from here are still too early on AU. We still have kind of like this supply and control internally. So I would like to see another push down today or tomorrow, and then from one of those lows you could already look for a long, though it is slightly lower probability due to the fact that we have not yet taken out the 4 hour liquidity, which is situated underneath this low over here, okay? Or we've not tapped into the monthly open, for example. So that just makes it a little bit lower probability, because it might look very clean from a 1 hour perspective, but if you zoom out, you can kind of see here on the 4 hour time frame that we're just kind of like a little bit stuck within this range here. That's the only situation that makes it a little bit complicated. So let's see today what happens. Maybe we'll get a very sharp sell-off on NZDUSD, AUDUSD, etc. Or not, but let's see what happens there. I'm going to be using today to kind of like see what market structure is provided to us. NZDUSD. So NZDUSD is at the discount of the range. This is the impulse in towards the upside. We've seen a retracement into discount pricing. We've taken out liquidity that was underneath this low here. And we've now seen a double 4 hour change of character, or a single 4 hour change of character, meaning we now have somewhat of demand here in control. For now, this looks good to push up slightly higher, though again, from a daily perspective, we are looking for somewhat of a deeper retracement back down towards some discount pricing. So longs are not very high probability, but let's see, and let's wait for today. NZDUSD is not my favorite. I prefer to trade AUDUSD or GBPUSD at this moment in time. But yeah, from a market structure perspective, obviously we've had the break in towards the upside. This is now the low, this is now the high. Monitor what happens on the 1 hour. We don't really have any liquidity in the overall push up, meaning liquidity situated underneath this low. So we would need to build up some liquidity before looking for long, because I don't like going long just from this demand zone and out in towards the upside. There's liquidity situated above this high, so maybe we take that out. Then we start selling off, and then we can look for either a long if liquidity internally is grabbed, or we'll just see the market sell off further. USDCHF, what are we seeing there? We're seeing an overall retracement in towards demand. This is a better pair for a potential kind of like next upside push. We've taken out some internal liquidity. We're back at the monthly open, and we're inside the overall demand zone. This has potential to push up a little bit higher still, though it's not the highest probability long. But yeah, overall immediate order flow that we're seeing here is still bullish, so that could still provide us with another push in towards the upside. Looking at USDCAD, we can see that USDCAD longs played out pretty well last week, with our peak kind of like being around a 1 to 2 RR. Those were the position, or this was the position that I literally shared with you guys live. Now with this position, it's kind of like a more short-term long, as long as the order flow holds. For now, demand is still in control. We still have demand here. So I'm looking for another push in towards the highs. If this breaks, then I would just not really be looking at anything here on USDCAD anymore. I'm still favoring for this high here to get taken out before even thinking about shorting this. Then we have USDJPY, which pushed up further in towards the highs last week, though this pair is a pair that I'm personally not touching due to the end being very unclear for myself. We've now seen a shift in towards the downside again from the monthly open. I don't really see anything on this, if I'm very honest, guys. So I'm not going to waste my time on USDJPY myself. And then, of course, we have gold. So gold started pushing in towards the upside based on geopolitical tensions. And we expect this to pretty much just continue. So any retracement is just another long opportunity. For now, it's pretty overextended. We left behind a lot of liquidity, I must say. But let's see. What you want to be looking at now is just internal liquidity. So, for example, this low over here. And then wait for that to get liquidated before even thinking about a long. So wait for that low, and then we could look for longs again. If the internal market structure then shifts again, that could be a nice lower time frame setup again, because then you form 50-minute demand and you could look for a long. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Any questions, as always, just let me know in the comment section down below, and wish you all a fantastic trading day. Thanks.